Today we will discuss an interesting development in international relations. India has made an important proposal for African Union's full and permanent membership in the G20 group. G20 is an intergovernmental forum consisting of the world's major developed and developing economies. Currently, the G20 comprises 19 countries and the European Union. And the African Union is a body representing 55 member states in the continent of Africa. The proposal suggests that the African Union should have a permanent seat at the G20 table. India is currently holding the G20 chairmanship and preparing to host the 18th G20 summit in Delhi this September. India has taken proactive measures to advance the interests of the Global South by prioritizing inclusivity and representation. Why is this proposal significant and what does it mean for the African Union? This move is significant because it recognizes the importance of Africa's voice and perspective in global discussions. African Union's full membership in the G20 signifies a significant stride towards shaping the future of our interconnected world. It reinforces the notion that a more equitable and balanced global order can only be achieved when all nations, regardless of their economic status, have a meaningful say in decision-making processes. This is important for addressing the imbalances in global governance and promoting a more inclusive and representative system. The G20 serves as a crucial platform for international economic and other forms of cooperation. It plays a vital role in formulating solutions to various global challenges. And thus, there is a pressing need to ensure that Africa is fully involved in these discussions. Because the issues at hand affect the continent of Africa as much as they do the rest of the world. You must be aware of the economic fallout of the Ukraine war, particularly in terms of food, fuel, and fertilizer insecurity in the global south. These issues have a direct impact on Africa, and therefore it is crucial that Africa's voice is heard within the G20 to address these challenges effectively. It is important to recognize that African communities are often disproportionately vulnerable to the effects of global challenges. Climate change, for instance, has severe consequences for the continent. With rising temperatures, changing rainfall patterns, and increased frequency of extreme weather events threatening food security, water resources, and public health. Similarly, the COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the importance of a coordinated global response. Africa's participation in shaping such responses is vital. Africa possesses immense potential, including its vast resources, expanding population, and growing economic integration. By granting Africa a seat at the main G20 table, we enable the continent to have a direct say in all deliberations and decisions, ensuring that its unique perspective and expertise are considered. Africa can contribute to finding solutions to some of the most pressing global issues we face today, such as climate change, pandemics, security, and debt. Granting the African Union full membership in the G20 would provide African nations with direct representation and a platform to voice their concerns and interests at the highest level of economic decision making. This could lead to more inclusive global economic policies that address the specific challenges faced by African countries. Further, Africa is a continent with immense economic potential. By including the African Union in the G20, the forum would have a more comprehensive representation of global GDP, trade, and population. Currently, the G20 represents around 65% of the world's population. With Africa's inclusion, that percentage will increase to approximately 80%, resulting in a more balanced and diverse representation. This expanded representation will not only strengthen the G20's moral credibility, but also promote fairness and justice on a global scale. This would also make discussions and decisions more reflective of the diverse global economic landscape. How will India gain from African Union's inclusion as a full member of the G20? Look, it would showcase India's commitment to enhancing Africa's representation and influence in global decision-making processes. This is in line with India's objective of promoting the Global South and fostering a fair and inclusive global governance system. By advocating for the African Union's inclusion, India positions itself as a leader among developing and underdeveloped nations. This will enable India to strengthen its support base and build stronger alliances with African countries. Furthermore, India recognizes that Africa's inclusion in the G20 would result in a more balanced and diverse representation that would reflect the global economic landscape more accurately. India rightly seeks to secure a permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council. In this context, garnering support from African nations who hold significant voting power is crucial. So by championing the African Union's membership in the G20, India aims to solidify its ties with Africa and enhance its diplomatic standing on the international stage. Has the African Union been involved with the G20 in the past? Yes. The African Union chairman has been invited regularly to the G20 summit gatherings since 2010 as a special guest. Now, this proposal suggests a shift towards granting the African Union full and permanent membership, allowing it to participate in all G20 meetings and discussions on an ongoing basis. Many African leaders have raised concerns about the lack of representation, particularly when we compare with Europe, which is represented by individual countries as well as the European Union itself. African leaders argue that the African Union, similar to the European Union, deserves appropriate representation within the G20. The African Union already represents the interests of African states at international forums. It has the status of a permanent observer at the United Nations General Assembly. Gaining full membership in the G20 would further enhance the African Union's ability to advocate for the continent's interests on global economic issues. It would also strengthen its position in negotiations with other regional and international organizations. What steps are needed for the African Union to become a full member of the G20? And what are some potential challenges or concerns with granting the African Union full membership in the G20? See, to become a full member of the G20, the proposal would need to be accepted and supported by the current G20 members. This would likely involve negotiations and consensus building among the existing members. Any expansion of the G20 membership is based on consensus among all G20 leaders. So far, 13 G20 members have expressed public support for the African Union's inclusion in the group. On the other hand, there are 7 countries that either oppose or remain undecided on this matter. The challenges and concerns with granting the African Union full membership in the G20 include the potential expansion of the group, which could dilute decision-making power and impact the forum's effectiveness. Some G20 members may worry that including more voices could hinder the ability to reach consensus and take decisive actions. Further, other regional groupings, such as those in East Asia, West Asia, and Latin America, may also seek similar representation. Then, coordinating the diverse interests and priorities within the African Union, which comprises 55 member states, may present another challenge. Achieving consensus among such a large and diverse group can be complex and time-consuming. The acceptance of this proposal depends on the stance and willingness of the current G20 members to expand the forum's membership. These concerns would need to be addressed through dialogue and negotiations to ensure a balanced and inclusive representation within the G20. By the way, the calls for the African Union to have a permanent seat at the G20 table have been increasing in recent years, indicating a growing recognition of Africa's importance on the global stage. The need for Africa to be more fully involved in the decision-making processes of global governance cannot be overstated. The proposal for the African Union's full membership in the G20 is an exciting development that highlights the need for more inclusive and representative global economic governance. As the world continues to evolve, it is crucial that the voices and perspectives of all regions, including Africa, are taken into account in shaping our collective future.